Hello, hello. I want to welcome all of you to another hour of some of the stuff you're hard pressed to find anywhere else except here on the Universal Consciousness Show. My name is Aage, and I'm one of the hosts, and I'm here in the southwest of the United States, and my co host Diana is over in Germany. Are you there, Diana?
Yes, I'm here. Hello, everyone.
Hello, hello. Well, we're going to have some fun again. We're going to have a lot of fun with this one because we got a really exciting guest coming up, and our special guest this week is in the northwest of the United States, and he's spending most of his time these days, maybe vacationing, and also he's a stay-at-home dad for three children. And I take my hat off for him because just for doing that what he likes and not necessarily all the stereotyped things that the world wants us to do. This country is, and the whole world is full of fathers that would love to spend time with their children as they're growing up, and that is commendable. We are going to have some interesting times here because our guest had a few experiences with some flying machines that very obviously seems to be from out of this world. And he's going to talk about some technologies. And he also has been featured in several publications, including the MUFON Journal. So welcome to the show here, Chris. And that's Chris Brown, isn't it?
That it is, Chris Brown, not the singer, so everybody can put their fingers away,
Yeah.
and ever watch out, hide their girlfriends, that's okay, keep them on out there. I'm a nice guy.
Yeah, there you go. There you
Mhm.
go. Yeah,
Hello, Chris. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Hi,
Um,
Don.
just for just for the listener that don't know you yet, could you please tell us a few words about your story and how did it all begin? I mean, what brought you on this path?
Yeah, well, like it just, like Augie said before, is I'm a stay-home father. And thank you by the kind words. I appreciate that. And I'm staying home father because I have epilepsy. I have actually pretty bad. As long as I'm on my medication, then things are going good. But that's kind of put me in the path of being a stay-at-home father.
hmm
And anyway, I was, just always kind of been, just kind of a regular guy. I, grew up in, Oregon City here, which is the end of the Lewis and Clark Trail. And I went to graduate from Oregon City High School. And, I kind of ended up, meeting my wife when I was, yeah, not until later on, 32. And we had moved into the small town in Sublimity, and that's about 15 miles outside of Salem. Salem's the capital of Oregon, and it's
Yes.
just a small little rural town. And I had been out there, uh, been periodically that week, the days before, watering my yard, or take care of my yard, weed eating and putting all the weed killer. And of course, the wrong time of the year, but I was late start. But anyway, I was doing all that, and I had been out there taking care, and I got my garden going. And it was kind of late in the summer, anyway, and it was August 19th, and I went in the back to water my yard or my garden in the back, and it was at that time because I looked at the clock. It was 8:50 p.m. So it was just getting dusk, right about the time the sun was going down, and so when I went, I watered the back little garden thing there for about 10 minutes, maybe, and then I pulled the hose around the side of the house. I had about three of them connected to one, so things like half mile long the hose. But anyway, so I had to pull it out and do the front yard and get all that down. Well, when I pulled it out in the street, I noticed some lights that looked just a little bit different in the field. I was kind of it was a very small neighborhood. The population of 20, I believe it was only 2,800 people. There's a population sign was right on my where I turned on my road, and it was just basically a town with a bunch of fields all around. And that's where I noticed in the one field, like I only had been there a year, so I didn't really, everything wasn't really kind of all set, tattooed in my head of how it always kind of looked, but so I still kind of, things were still kind of new, but the lights just didn't look, there just was some lights out there that didn't look normal, but I just didn't take it in, and so I pulled the hose back in the yard. I watered for, I'd say probably another 20 minutes, and on the first half of the yard. So then I went and I pulled it back to do the second half to get the kinks out again more. And then that's, the sun was really going down by then. It's getting done. And then that's when I can hear, or excuse me, I could see a huge glass dome is what caught my attention in the field. I guess I just was kind of caught off guard of what am I seeing really, and so I remember I had the hose in my hand. I'm staying in the middle of the yard, and I threw it, and I guess it did land in the yard there. But the weirdest thing was nobody was around. It was just dead, this town, and then normally at that time of year and just really that time, there's always kind of people walking around the neighborhood, and it was, doing their evening strolls. It was nice evening to go, or whatever, but it was just so dead. There weren't even cars going by on the main road that I had to look through, the one only road that goes through the whole entire strip. I had to look over that road into the farmer's field there, and there was just nothing there. No cars or nothing, but I could just see this huge glass dome that was on top of a craft. Now, to me, I had to put, I guess, on the estimate of the size of that dome. The only thing I could put sitting on top of this huge craft, 300 feet in diameter, maybe. Wow. Yeah, and yeah, it was huge. Now, there behind the trees where it was sitting, there's, there's fields everywhere. There's a huge field, a valley. Now, I've never been out there. I've just kind of, just drove by there around, but there's a big valley, and then that field just goes on for miles. Well, this thing swamped that field, and there's actually right there too is an old folks home, a retirement area right there too, where my grandma was living at the time, and I just was like, wow, and so I had went and I'd ran over to the neighbors, because like I said, nobody was out there. Here it is, just me. And so I went over to the neighbor's house, and then their porch light started to click on, or it did click on, their floodlight or whatever, motion detector. And I started to knock on that door, and I stopped. I thought, God, what am I going to say to these people? They're going to look at me like a deer in the headlight, Yeah. And because I just didn't know them that well, I mean, God, if it had just been the next year, or, no problem, I would have been banging on their door, but I just really didn't know them that well. And so I ran back to the street. Once again, nobody's coming in the yard, in the street. Nobody's driving by in the street. Nothing. It's just dead. And I was the only one at the house at the time. My wife was gone. It was just me there. And so, anyway, like I said, so I ran back in the street, and here it is. It's still there. And then that's when I was just, I guess it's crazy, because here I am sitting there wondering in my head, is this still happening? But yet then there's this other side to me that's got these other people that could have ran over their house. I could have banged on Chuck and Laura's door, yanked them out, and whatever. But I didn't. Yet I'm still sitting there collaborating in my head. Is this happening? See, so these, like I say, are all the emotions that go on in a UFO encounter when the experiencer's head, right? When it's happening. So,
we always question ourselves.
Oh, you said that time before again, days before, I would have been telling you, oh, I'm going to run in their house and yank them off the table and pull them out by their hair and, type of deal, right? Sure. But anyway, so like I said, I ran out there, still there. And I was just looking, really, it was me too, sitting there trying to, like I said, wondering if this is really going on, almost pinching myself, wondering if this is really going on because I was just not really that guy. And then that's when it kind of started to move just a little bit. It seemed like just, and then that's when I go, oh, whoa, like, okay. And then that's when felt, I felt it pulling me in. I felt it. Everything went like kind of, like if I put my hand on something that was vibrating real fast, and everything kind of looked kind of that just a blurry a little bit, but kind of a purplish blue look. And then I felt in this, like my belly, like this, it kind of almost like you're going down a roller coaster really fast. You know, you get like the willy, you know. And it really, and I mean, I felt literally myself almost. It's weird to say, but almost like my soul pulling me into this thing, and it scared me. It scared me, and it scared me so bad. I said, "Oh God," in my head, and just I guess that's the first thing, and it stopped. I didn't sit there and go, "Oh wow," you know, how did I just feel? Because here it is, still sitting in front of me. So then I ran down to the stoplight. By that time, the stoplight had down there, which is about I don't know, 40 feet away, maybe. It had the light had turned on, the street light, because it gotten darker by then. And so I thought, well, I'm going to run down there with this iPod that I remembered I'd had. I'd gotten the Christmas before, but my kids always had it. iPod was kind of a new thing then. I think it was like first year or something that came out, maybe. And the kids were always on it, you know. And as I told you, I never did this computer thing. I just didn't really care. And so, but I'd kind of taken a little bit of interest in it out there, listening to the music that my wife downloaded on me when I was out there watering. But I remember I had it. So I went down there to go, and I just did use the Wi-Fi. I had to Wi-Fi my buddy once or twice at that point. And I didn't even ever use the phone or the video or anything. I didn't even know how to do that.
So you wanted to take some pictures, huh?
Oh, yeah. So I ran down there to the, you know, it was dark. But I ran down there to the light because I think I'm going to have to get as close as I can to it, you know. I mean, it's still a ways out there. It's probably half a mile all the way to the trees maybe. And, you know, I mean, it was still a good quarter of a mile to, well, less than that maybe, to the end of the street, maybe a quarter mile, just to the end of the street before I had to cross the main street into the farmer's field out to the tree. So, you know, but I needed to get as close as I could. And so I did. But, gosh, I got all the way down the light. Oh, I was shaking so hard. And once again, here I am sitting in the middle of the road like a possum.
And nobody coming.
Nobody coming. And you know, this isn't late, guys. This is at 9:20. Yeah, 9:30 p.m. on a summer evening where the sun. I mean, it was like, and so, and I was alert because I was just waiting for people to come by. I mean, you know, I was like, and so that's the frustrating thing. But anyway, so I'm sitting here, I'm shaking so hard, trying to figure out the setting to record the thing on it. I remember I put the iPod on the ground and on the street, and I was holding my other hand with my one hand because it was shaking so bad. I even tried, Aage, to get a breath, relax, try to take it. Yeah, I was really trying to do all this because here I was thinking, oh my God, if I got the video of this thing, it would be the greatest video ever. Oh my God, I'd be thinking in my head at that point in time, that's why I'm thinking, all right. I'm thinking if I had a video of this, Steven Spielberg, he's my best friend. Okay? So, all right.
Did you ever get close enough to actually take those pictures?
Oh, well, what happened is I was shaking so bad. I still was in stooped about the iPad because pod that I only had used just a few times. Meanwhile, this thing was going on. I was afraid it was gonna leave on me. And so I just kind of just gave up at that point in time because I felt like I got missing the whole thing. Still, I'm missing it. It's like major, right? So. Anyway, so I just kind of just gave up. Well, I did give up, and I just was staring at it, and then that's when I noticed it moved a pretty good distance. Like as before, it seemed like it just moved a little bit up the street before I went down the light. This it moved, I'd say, about 30 feet back and forth 2 times, and then the third time it moved east all the way. Now that's when I could get the full size of it. That's that's when it all came. I mean, the huge glass dome thing on it would have been big enough for crying out loud.
Yeah.
But this was really. I can only put the size of it on an aircraft carrier, but to me it seems bigger, you know. But
Yeah.
I guess I've never wouldn't. It's a little bit different. You see an aircraft carrier in the water to sitting on land, you know. I don't know, but it was in that size, and I was just like saying, and that's like when it floated back and forth, like say on the third time, you know, went east toward McCauley Mountain, and then that's when I was like, well, I'm still in my head thinking I got to get video of it. So, but it kind of went out of distance then, and then I started running back to my, I guess the glass dome went out of the tree, so I couldn't see that. I could just see the bottom of the craft, and then that kind of went by, and it looked like they were kind of blue and red lights were kind of going counterclockwise from each other. It looked like maybe, and it seemed like kind of blinking. But anyway, and then that one, so I ran back to my driveway, thinking, well, maybe I could get a better look at, you know, going in my backyard maybe, and hopping the fence and then going through the trees. But I could kind of see, well, there's a lot of houses there, and that wasn't going to happen by the time I started to run back. But in the process of running back, like right above in the field where the disc was, like straight above, looked like a star. But it was moving. It was not in the sky. It was in space, and it was. If I took a rock, if I threw a rock that fast, that's how fast it was moving in space.
Oh,
whoa, you know. And so that's when I have whipped out that iPad again, thinking, gosh, I got to get this on, you know, on whatever. And
did you get anything on film though?
I didn't. You know,
man.
once again, oh yeah. And you know what though? It was a new year of those. And after finding out that haven't in a while, it would have been so dark. You just wouldn't have seen anything. I'd been going around probably making more of a, you know, so can you see it? Can you see it? And then nobody can see anything at all, even if I did have something. But anyway, no. So it was in case. So I run back and I see that, and I get into the driveway, and so I try to even call my buddy again to try to get him going. But I still, once again, just kind of in the midst of the whole thing. A lot of times I'd ask my wife, "Hey, can you get me going on this?" You know. But anyway, I lost sight of it in space, and then I was just looking around, and that's when I noticed it was actually my dog was in the house, and I heard a bark, and I just happened to look over my right hand shoulder, and coming right above our neighborhood, I guess it was probably just a couple 100 feet maybe. You know, it's hard to judge, you know, it's up in the air, but not that high, I guess. A disc, a smaller disc, I guess maybe you could judge by about the bottom of the lights, just from the lights back and forth. I mean, it's all I could see, maybe by 15 feet, you know, but in diameter. And then went over the neighborhood. As it went over, all the dogs barked. Bark, 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 bark. I mean, instantaneously. It went over there to over the field that next to my friend's house, Doug and Rhonda's, and they had their dogs out there. And they said, bark, 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 sat there for just a couple seconds, and then it got bright, and it just kind of made it bright, and then it just disappeared. And that was, like I say, the 19th of August 2011. Well, I went back.
Oh, 2011. Okay, that's a few years back. Yeah. And now, did you have the sensation of maybe there was a human connection to this, or do you think it felt like maybe it was all machine? Did you have any sensations of anything like that?
Well, to me, I have to say I felt that there was some type of a humanness, something to it, because of the fact that, well, the weird thing of it is right before I went out to go water, there was something in my head that said, oh, God, I wonder if I'm going to see a UFO or something tonight. I actually took that in my head, and then it happened. And then, when I prayed for it, and like since prayed, just like, oh my God, and then it stopped. Those are things that makes me think, well, was it something more beyond than just me out there from the government that was, out there doing some tests or something that night? It seemed like maybe there was surely something truly there that was emotionally connected with me or something. I just don't know, those were rough days there in between, because I really didn't know. I really didn't know where to go. I was a fool. I was what you just want to just blatantly call a virgin in the UFO industry. I had nothing. Only thing I knew about was my good friend William Burns, and who I had no clue. Ever meet this man? I would ever talk. I'd ever be friends with the guy. I would ever have any kind of relationship. I only dreamed about that because the only show that was on when it happened was UFO Hunters. Okay, and I actually watched a little bit of it, and so but that's all I knew was really him, and when I did know like the Bob Lazar story, because I'd heard that years ago, but I just heard a little bit of the guy. I didn't know any of the details, but just heard about him working there. And
good question here. After they had left, did you walk out into the fields where they were and look for any marks, or was there any evidence of anything that had been left behind?
I didn't, and I wanted to. I didn't, but I wanted to. There was a private field, and since where it was just like a house attached to a big, huge dirt field that went on, a long ways. Whoever owns that property's got a big chunk. They got a lot of it. But anyway, a good field too. But I wanted to so bad because see, that's where I was hoping when I had gotten a hold of MUFON that they would have been able to go out there, and I would have went up to the house and knocked on their door at that point in time and explained to the old farmer what happened, and said, hey, blah, blah, and maybe he would have took me in and said, maybe he would have said, we seen it too. We just seen, or who knows, but no.
Now, did you ever ask them afterwards if they did see anything?
I never even talked to them. I just didn't. I didn't. And so what happened?
That is a very common thing, actually, because I remember one time I was driving, this was probably in the mid-1990s. I was driving down the road on a vacation in Arizona, and we were sitting in the car. We saw a bright lit flying something disc-like thing flying over in front of the car. I had the camera sitting right on the seat next to me, and I never even thought of picking it up. You kind of dulled. You kind of put to, you're so amazed by the whole thing that you just don't even think half the time.
Well, this is my thing, and I'm going to say this is in the world of time travel. It's almost like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, those that have seen it a million times. It's like when they had to go back and retrieve his dad's car keys, and they had them telling them when to go, when to move. Okay, when to this, when to that, when to this. And, a lot of people, they all have these same scenarios. It's everybody, really. And so obviously that's what's going on, because we know that for right there that they're working with time travel. So they're going to know exactly when to come. They're going to know right when everybody's not looking. And who's to say they aren't tapping into our thoughts, knowing when we aren't going to look? So they've been able to program all this into their computer system, have this all manually out, and figure it out, or whatever, coordinates out. So these things are moving around at essentially will when they know nobody's looking. So it's all the breathing in the life of taking in everything, I guess, when they talk about these craft, being able to. So it just goes to show that how much more adapt these things are. And one day and however many years, maybe, I'm sure we're going to be there too. But
the thing also is that they are at a higher level of vibration. They are probably at the part of their technology or mind technology is operating at the quantum level, which means they have full access to us, and their mind could operate as it was one with us. That's why they probably could know exactly what we are thinking, or if we're not even thinking on our own, they are placing thoughts in our head, like happened with you when you, before you went to water the grass, you had the thought that maybe I'll see a UFO. That thought could have been placed there for you to be alert for something.
I believe that 100%.
Yeah.
I do, and so like I say, but it was those in between days were really hard for me. It was all the days, but those were really hard because I really didn't know where to go, and like I say, I just knew about the few shows and those guys talking about them, and didn't know about Travis Walton, that Fire in the Sky, even though I'd never seen the movie really,
Yeah.
and but that's all I knew, and so I didn't know anything about MUFON or UFO Reporting Center. None of these things I was supposed to get a hold of if these things happen. So I was walking around. I got a hold of Doug and Rhonda. They weren't home that night. They had a band. He has a band, so he was doing band practice. I talked to Donna and Matt, and they really took me in. And but they weren't around either. I did ask. I did bring it up to Chuck, the neighbor over there that I went to go run on, and then he told me, being a huge hunter, one of the best hunters, probably the best hunter I ever know. This guy, he can hunt anything. Mm-hmm. I should have had him out there with a gun. He could have hunted the UFO for me, right? But anyway, he kill anything, this guy. But anyway, his words was, Chris, that's never going to happen again. When I walked out, he believed me. He took me in because he said he'd seen some lights out hunting one night early in the morning, and he didn't know if they're satellites or what. But, and then I'd said something to one neighbor gal up there that was washing her car or something. I didn't really say too much. She was receptive. No, I hadn't said anything. I can't remember really how I approached her with it. But then Monica came over on the other side. So I had Chuck and Laura on the one side that I ran over their house and I stopped, and then I had Monica on the other side of me, and she was my age, and she had, and so she would come over now and then. My wife and her were kind of friends, and anyway, she came over and I was telling her, and she's going, oh wow, and so she ended up going home and telling Brianna, her daughter, who was 17 at the time. And Brianna's like, oh, my God. And she just rushed right back over. And she was in a breath. She's like, my friends, that night, we thought they were joking when they told us we couldn't take them seriously. And she goes, that is such a trip. And she didn't have any details at that point in time, really. She was just really, and it made me feel good because at that point in time, I started around thinking I was half crazy, right?
Yeah.
And,
yeah, that comes up quite often when you see stuff like this.
yeah. So anyway, I made me feel, I was like, oh wow, and so I just said, well, next time you talk to him, let him know, see if you get more detail thing. And and it was also during that time too, I did try to reach out to the news, I think it was the news station. Anyway, and so
but they didn't care, huh?
Well, no, not really. And I reached out to him a couple times. I reached back out to him. So anyway, ended up that I had been out there watering, waiting for the thing to come. I'd been laying in bed praying for the thing to come back at night, wanting the thing to come back. Had my camera out, watering the yard every single night, out there waiting for it. This time, I had my camera out there watering. Like just video of me watering. So how many nights, I guess it'd be 11 nights or whatever, prior to me out there just playing, sitting on my wrist, me watering. I was waiting for that thing to come back, just like when it does. I just have my camera already on, ready to go, whip it up, ready to get in picture view, right? And
I see now that we are down at the bottom of the hour, so we got to take a short break. And when we come back, we will probably hear more about the second time. Or there is when they come back or someone else comes back. So we'll have another chat here at the second half hour with Chris Brown, and we will be back shortly.
The rising rate of autism is not just concerning, it's a disaster. No matter what the cause of it is something that everyone should be acutely aware of and actively helping out those in the community that have it. That is why Adventures in Autism was created. Adventures in Autism is a show inspired by our life with our son Seth and the many experiences his autism has brought to our lives. Each episode we bring you the topic of the week, news about autism, and resources to help you and your family or friends out in their own adventures with autism. Tune in Mondays at noon and midnight on lnmradionetwork.com or openeyesnetwork.com and get involved in the community. Let our experiences be an inspiration to you.
Attention L&M Radio Network listeners. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of the L&M Radio Network by calling 605-562-4203? No smartphone app or internet needed. Saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Call 605-562-4203 to listen to the LNM Radio Network on any phone, anytime, anywhere.
There are days that the red pill is bitter in my stomach, but I can't get it back out. I think because I have to. I speak because I have no choice. I walk through this dark age we're in with open eyes. Listen to Open Eyes on latenightinthemidlands.com. And together, maybe we won't stumble and fall. The Late Night in the Midlands Radio Network is deeply devoted to you, the listener. We feel it is necessary to bring you all of the information that you can use in your life. Each and every day you will find something to listen to here. And whether you come away from the shows informed, inspired, or entertained, it is our passion. We don't bow to corporations, and we don't have handlers to tell us what not to talk about. We bring you everything. Late Night in the Midlands, however, is fully listener-supported. We need your help to stay on the air and to make sure that we get the bills paid. We need your help to keep the truth alive. If you feel that you have gotten anything out of Late Night in the Midlands, we would appreciate your support. You can become a subscriber and help us out on a monthly basis, or if you'd like, a one-time donation is fully appreciated as well. Every year, the average household in America spends over $3,000 on entertainment alone. If you could help us with just a tiny fraction of that amount, you would make all of the difference. Go to latenightinthemidlands.com and click on the subscribe button. Thank you, and as always, keep yourself informed.
Hello, hello. We are back with the Universal Consciousness Show. And I just heard my echo here, so no, the echo's gone. Okay, we're good. We're talking with Chris Brown and about his incredible experience where he was confronted with an apparently extraterrestrial or extra something or rather craft, a very large one. And he's explaining his experience, and there is more to this story. So let's have some more of it.
All right. Well, anyway, as I was saying, I was really, at a point in those days as I just didn't know who to talk to. And it was in between those days of the first, the second counter. And so I had, like I said, I had talked to the neighbor there, and that really made me feel good when I got a hold of Brianna, and she told me that. So, like I said, I'd been out there waiting for days, for the next, well, it would have been from the 11 days. And I had been out there every night. I had water in the yard, and it was late. It was a Friday night. It would have been the 26th. but it was moving into the 27th. And my wife had a friend over that night, and in the summertime, she'd run movies, and the kids were up late and whatever. And I had drug after the movies were over. It was almost midnight, and which would have been the 27th. And I drug my boy out there to go out and help me water and kind of sky watch what they were doing anyway after it, And so anyway, we were out there, and he was standing at the curb out with me, and I was doing kind of a quick water, and he was wanting to go inside because he's kind of late and all that. So he needed to get in bed. Anyway, and so I was just keep an eye on the sky, Colton, and I guess I'd say 10 minutes, or at the most. And anyway, so well, it says it didn't look like I could see anything. I finished up and I walked up to where he was standing up there, right up at the yard, and dropped the hose. I think for a second, maybe I can't remember. But anyway, I turned off the phone and put it in my pocket. And I said, "All right, Colton." I said, "It don't look like we were going to see anything tonight. Let's go." And then both of us, as soon as we turned our back, just kind of almost just that way, a pop with a flash behind us. It was kind of a loud pop. My daughter says she heard it, but I think that she just was thinking that. But who knows? Maybe she did. And I almost don't see how you couldn't have heard it, really. We just turned around real quick. We just thought like a transformer went out at first, like simultaneously. This just happened. And that's when it didn't really come into shape exactly what it was at first, but it seemed like it spun in on us. That's all kind of when it came a little bit. I guess if I were to get the most detailed part of that, or when it first came in, when it's the most blurry, maybe it's just because it came in so fast and then it stopped, I guess, I don't know, to come into shape. That's all I could say. But it was I'd say six feet from my son and I could touch it, and it comes in spinning backwards while it was going forward. It was to get into, you've seen my drawings, and if you've seen the Open Minds report, the Photoshop picture that I'd made, to get into to the kind of the details of it, was like, imagine like a soap bubble. Imagine but it was a magnetic soap bubble. And that was like 5 feet and 5 feet in diameter. It was fire white on kind of a electrical current white on the outer rim of it. That part, like I said, and it was spinning backwards while it was going forward. The inner part of it was kind of mixed in with kind of a bluish kind of then it was green teal inside, I guess it just looked greenish teal inside, but it had all this golden dust that was floating around this clear sphere. It was freely flowing around the clear sphere, it was just I call it, I refer to it like bugs, like bees.
So you could see inside. You're standing inside a few feet away. You could see inside of the bubble then, or the glass bubble. What did you see in there?
Okay, and it was all these golden dust stuff that was all like freely floating around all inside, like a static TV around a clear sphere, a clear ball that was probably about the size of, I don't know, maybe a beach ball, a little bit bigger than a basketball. And then inside of it was a red glow. And then, like I say, it was spinning backwards while it was going forward, counterclockwise, It was going over the part of the road where they tore up, they put the year before that, I guess, they put the fiber optic cable in right there. And you could see it was, as it was sucking, or I don't know, arcing power. Hell, it could have been supplying the whole entire city, And with all the power it looked like it had, just under that part of the bubble part, as it was, and it was, that's how I remember. There's chopping noise.
So it was rotating, maybe horizontally, or how was it rotating or spinning?
It was spinning counterclockwise, backwards, while going forward. I mean, so when you think of the super spinning of the counterclockwise, because the it's almost like the Albert Einstein, the super, it was spinning it counterclockwise type of deal. But it was spinning counterclockwise, and like as it was spinning, it was almost like as it was coming around, and it was getting to the bottom part where it was sucking just on the bottom part of the road there, where it was kind of seemed to arc or whatever. That's where it was kind of making the chop noise right there, choo 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 choo. And then it went over, spun away from us. It wasn't moving fast. I mean, it was just moving pace of creep. It was just moving slowly, just a small a slow pace. It went away about probably about 10 feet from us, maybe. And then it sat there, and then it spun. Now that's what we could see in the middle of the sphere, the red glow, that it was in a teardrop. It was in a liquid. You could see it in a teardrop shape as it was spinning backwards. And then it sat there almost like.
Was the inside spinning also?
It was, because it had to be spinning because but it was a clear ball, so it was really super kind of just it was hard to say that if it was, but it was. The whole entire apparatus was getting spun, I think, by all that like golden dust stuff in the middle around the clear ball that seemed like that was what was propelling the orb either to get bigger or smaller, in the sense where when people see orbs and it sees it go up there and it gets really bright, really super, super yellow, and it changes different colors or whatever it wants to do, and then it gets smaller. Or maybe you might have some drop out of it, and I think, well, all that golden dust in there, that stuff probably come up into 1,000 different ones, Sure enough, you see that all the time, breaking up into a bunch of little things, them all coming back together. So anyway, to kind of go on later on about that. So it like I say, when it went away from me, Aage, I could see it was in Colin. I could see it was in a teardrop shape. That red in the middle. She said it's just a glow at first when it was like right beside us, but when we could get behind it, that's when we could see it was in the teardrop shape.
Okay. So anything but the teardrop, was there any other technology, mechanics, moving parts, or any possible room where there could be a small humanoid in it?
Oh, no, not this. That's not this. This isn't anything. I'll tell you what it could have did. It could have made the perfect, most what we would only could think of now, 4D, highest resolution, hologram in there. That I could see it doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see it doing it real easy, real quick. So when these people want to say, God, I see something, and then it was a face, it looked right at me, I'm thinking to myself, and I do hear their encounters, but I think, Don, so you're probably right. And I bet it made a hologram in there, and it talked to you through the orb, through them up in the ship, and whatever, and it's crazy, it is. So anyway, no, but then, like I say, when it was away from us, it was only there 8 to whatever feet, and then it sat there for I don't know, maybe a few seconds, and then it spun over diagonally over to the iron plate manhole cover on the road. It made the same noise that it did when it showed up, the same popping noise, and then it was just gone. And some sparks rolled around on the iron plate manhole cover, and then there's a transformer that was right above there, and then there's some sparks that went off the transformer, I remember, and then there's power line that goes from there over into the little cul-de-sac that was right across the way there, and it was just gone.
Did you have the sensation of anything where it might be coming from, or going to interdimensionally, or at a distance, maybe in the same vibration we are, or did you have any kind of mental communication with it?
I didn't, as far as getting it where they were coming from, but the mental communication, now that there I did feel. Yeah. Because I prayed for it to come back to do what it did. And
Well,
so,
then maybe there was a communication there.
yeah. So, and as you do know, I have epilepsy. Um, and so, I have big seizures, I have small seizures. Now I've got the big ones under control, but the little ones, some days I struggle. Today, kind of a little bit waking up. I got to make sure I do all the right things. I have these little ones, but I have so many of them. I just don't know if it could have been me able to maybe just hone on
Did
their frequency or something. I guess I don't know.
Did you have any sensation of possibly a spiritual connection, maybe a higher vibratory, like maybe you got, when you get a spiritual experience, it very often have emotion with it, like
Oh
maybe a
boy,
lovable emotion, or it could be fear,
oh
it could be anything like that.
no, you hit it right there. That's yeah. That was an odd thing because and it hit my boy too. But I don't, I just don't know. I did feel that way. You know what I felt? I felt like a compassion toward if there was like, and my head was racing so much. All my emotions were just, oh
Yeah.
my God. But I was thinking, oh, I felt compassion of like a race. Like I would feel bad if we were killing them or whatever. That's a weird thing
Yeah.
I kind of felt. That was the compassion that I felt. And then, of course, emotions were heavy. Emotions were, oh boy, they
Yeah.
were all over the road. But they didn't really get that way. Well, I guess they kind of hit pretty immediate.
Hmm.
They were big for me. I haven't had emotions like that since my grandpa died. The
Yeah.
closest person in my life, as crazy as it is. I was, and just kind of was embarrassed to say, actually. Um,
So you didn't have any feelings of where they would be from.
no, I didn't. I really
Uh-huh.
didn't. And, um, to get kind of a little bit more maybe into that, uh, I did like to say I was at that point when it happened that okay, I went in the house. Well, to get into the more of the story, because we aren't really quite done. When I had took off, as soon as it left, it popped in. The door opened, my front door, and my wife comes out and all that. But she was saying goodbye to her friend. I thought they all rushed out like they seen it. They're like witnessing out the window or something, the front window. They're just too chicken to come out, right? But
Hmm.
anyway, they didn't see me. And
Hmm.
so I was telling her, friend, I did say something to her. I just don't know really what I said in a sense because it was such a big moment. Everything was just kind of a blur at that point in time. But I didn't say much. I just didn't really know what to say. But she took off, and as she took off, um, Brianna was coming home, and she was pulling in the driveway right then, and I might cut into her. And I'm going, oh my God, Brianna, you aren't going to believe it, and I'm telling her all what's going on. And now my boy wasn't saying anything. And so I was asking her, well, did you have a chance to talk to your friend? Finally, after I'm kind of giving her kind of a quick little lowdown. And that's when she told me that they watched it for 45 minutes to disc up at Macaulay Mountain. They couldn't get service on their phone. They just left. And
Hmm.
so she says that they ended up just packing up their camping stuff and went back. Anyway, but as she's sitting here talking, my boy wasn't saying anything. Well, that time, the whole entire time, I don't know the whole entire time or what. There was two discs above Chuck and Laura's house on the other side and one was 40 feet up um, above the house, and my boy could see up inside of it, and that's where he had his drawings on the open mines report and all that. But he could. There was one, that one was going real slow, and he said it was probably estimated about 40 feet up. They said maybe from his guess, and then there was another one above it, another craft that was going. He said a little bit faster, but it was leaving like a little kind of like a streak behind it. He said, and but anyway, so as Brianna and I were talking, and I didn't know what was going on with my son, the streak goes shooting right in front of Brianna and I, and you could see it was in a chunk. I mean, maybe from somebody from the far they might have thought maybe it was a shooting star or something like that, but this was truly a chunk of a disc. You could even see the little hump of it on the top. And we went, whoa, all at the same time. Well, that's, of course, when I found out that disc right there was right above, and my boy had seen it zigzag around the corner and go zip flying right by us. And so, like, we just, wow. So we sat there for a little bit. She ran out and went and got her mom to come out here. And then it just kind of seemed like, well, that's kind of creepy. Maybe it's best we just go inside, we thought. So,
Yeah.
and
I, a lot of people have these experiences. When they start talking about it, they get some flack. Did you ever have any problems from anybody? Gosh, God, heaven forbid, maybe Men in Black or somebody come talk to you about maybe asking you to not talk much about it?
Well, see, that's where I get is I tried to reach out to some people. It was my buddy that told me to get a hold of MUFON, and I got a hold of MUFON that following day. Or it was on the weekend, Monday. And they came over Tuesday, and I reported my encounter to them. And I never had an issue of like being on my phone, excuse me, having, talking about it really much before. But I do think that once I reported it to MUFON, things took over, and my phone started getting tapped. I'd start talking about the first encounter, everything would be going great. As soon as I got to the second encounter, and I started getting to the orb, and I started getting to the what it would look like and what detect, all of a sudden, my phone cut out. Then that happened for like 3 months. It was really irritating my wife and I. And then the guys, the weird, well, it started off one day. I can't remember which one. Maybe it was the Suburban first. I was out watering my yard. And I seen a Suburban, dark black Suburban come down. Everybody in the whole neighborhood had Suburban, so it wasn't any big deal, all right? But this Suburban was just all black with no plates and no tinted. I assumed that it was probably Ken, the neighbor, the two houses are right next to Chuck and Laura there. Kind of explain all the people, but he was the mechanic at the Chevy dealership right behind my house and behind the big field, kind of out a little ways there. I could always see it and hear him, but it was just a little bit out there. But so he was always bringing over all the cars that he's working on. I thought, well, maybe it's him. But yeah, it's all black tinted windows. I didn't see any plates. Even I believe black rims, maybe like kind of black rims, just distinctive. Anyway, and so it went going neighborhood. I remember watching it because I was kind of standing out on the road a little bit, watching cars come down, and it was going normal speed. But then when it got to my house, it ended up going and going real slow as I was out there, creepingly slow. We're talking.
How big was it?
Well, it was a Suburban, regular, car. So it was, it's a big thing, but it was going creepingly slow, and it went all the way down. I would say just walking pace, right by where my house, just to get past my house, to speed up, to go right up around the corner, to flip a U-ey, to come back around, to go really just normal speed until it just had a couple houses anyway. But just to go down there and to go really super slow again the other way. Super slow. But I was really on at that point in time, and I don't care who they are. I would have screamed and yelled at them probably, at that point in time. At least I would have thought that in my head. Because I was upset. My phone was getting tapped, and I couldn't even have a normal conversation. I was just, really frustrated. So anyway, nevertheless, that, and then I was out. It was a day I wasn't feeling well. And I was laying down, and my wife come in and says, "Hey, there's a guy out there. He keeps sitting out there in a car all day in front of our house." And now I didn't go outside, and which I'm wondering if he was waiting for me to go out in front.
Well, that's very likely, and cars like that. That's what the feds are driving.
Oh,
So that
it
was.
was, yeah, he went out there. Well, actually, what happened is he sat out there all day, hours.
Mhm.
And Ange finally, when she told me twice, I fell asleep and woke up, and she said, he's still out there. So then Chuck went over there.
I see
Was
now
right,
that we have
and
4 minutes left here of the show. So
right about there, too. Yeah. So
yeah,
the, you know,
I imagine though that having gone through all of this and experienced all of this, I'm going to ask you a question. If a ship landed, the door came open, and somebody walked out of it and walked up to you and say, "Let's go for a ride. I will show you something that you have never seen before," would you go?
mm, no,
Hmm.
no, not now. It's been so hard for me. People ask me, would you want to see it again? Would you want to do this? Would you want to maybe progression? Would you want to? It's been such a stress for me that I don't want to think. I don't want to have another encounter. I'm happy, I guess, in the sense where I'm at right now, but to have any more heavy duty thoughts and thinking all those thoughts all over again and reminding me because I'm just that type of a guy. It weighs heavy on me, and this has been therapy for me to do these radio shows. So it's I don't know. To me, no.
Yeah, yeah. And then towards the end here, I would like you to maybe, what advice would you have to others if they have an experience like yours, or maybe not quite as extravagant as that, maybe as an experience from a distance, or if it is an extraterrestrial interaction? What advice would you have to them to maybe help them through it? Because there is an experience here that is out of this world.
Mm,
No pun intended.
no. Mine I found in this is everybody handles it a different way, but for I think it's just talking about it and getting together with people that have had these same experiences and yeah, but then again, don't be ashamed, because if it's truly happened, and it's happened as I'm doing this radio show here, and we're all living our life as we are as soon as the radio show's over today. If it truly happened to you, then you shouldn't have any confidence when you tell people, and people will see that if they can, and so I'm always just get it out there and share too, and tell people
Yeah.
and let people, because you will find when you do that people open up. When I was in Mexico, my wife told the people I did radio, and they asked just the two people I met. Well, both of those two people had experiences. The one personally had an experience, and the other one, her brother had an experience golfing, and his friend, and we're apparently seeing a ball light, and we're missing time, and they never
Mhm.
told anybody. And so people really, until they get poked and prodded, won't say anything. But there's a lot of them out there, and there's more than you think. And so that's my biggest thing, is to get out there and talk about it, spread the words, so then makes other people feel like they can open up, and
Yeah.
and I guess that's my thing.
That's good. Yeah. And of course, my last question here before we go off is that when you run into somebody that tells you, "Nah, there is no such thing as UFOs," you get a good laugh, don't you?
Well, I say, you know what? That's the big question, because in the sense I did not see an alien. So, but I do. I tell you the truth, I haven't come across anybody really that says that. I think, at least I haven't said it to my face, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, actually, I think you're right, because there are fewer and fewer of the
Are
people that
fewer and
can,
fewer.
yeah, that can deny that there is something in the
Yeah.
sky that cannot
Old
be
school,
explained.
back in your early days, when things were just a little bit more different thinking then, and now with science and video cameras and the world of people going, yeah, that's the way going on here,
Yeah.
and how can you deny? So
Yeah,
that's
that
really
is very difficult to do. And gosh, we are down to the end of the show.
right.
So I want to thank you, Chris, for being on with us. This was
Yeah,
very
everybody's
interesting.
welcome can like me at the like my page at the Sublimity Close
Yes.
Encounter Facebook.
And also, this show will be stored on our website and on YouTube, and the Universal Consciousness Show on YouTube, and also on our website at www.universal-consciousness-show.com. And where can they get a hold of you if they want to talk about something?
Well, that's what I say is my webpage is, yeah, I guess I spoke too soon, but my webpage is the Sublimity Close Encounter. That's my Facebook page, actually.
Okay. Okay.
And I do have a Wix site, but I just don't use it much. But gosh, everything seems to be Facebook now, so you can get a
Yeah.
hold of me there, and you can either like it or follow it or just send me a message, whatever you want to do,
Okay.
and that's how you can get a hold of me, and
All
then
right.
you can see where I'll be at next.
Okay, that sounds very good. So then, thank you very much. And
Oh,
for the listeners, we will be back next week, and we will have an interesting guest. And until then, take care of each other.
Thank you. Bye bye.